Hello and welcome to The Lucky Roll. I'm Sean,
I'm Tony.
and today we're going to do a comparison between Dark Souls and...
Doom, the board game.
Now, before we begin, I suppose we better basically explain what they are, because there's bound to be someone out there who lives under a rock hasn't a clue what either franchise is.
Somehow, yeah.
Yeah, we'll start with Doom.
So Doom is recently a massively popular game because of the new release since 2016. It's originally started in the 90s by id Software. It's a basically action-packed first-person shooter game where you're running around as a very angry marine shooting demons in the face, and it's brilliant fun. I love it. It's one of my favorite video games.
Dark Souls, the video game, is a kind of an RPG, medieval, very dark fantasy. It's very difficult. It's famous for its difficulty, but it's dripping in atmosphere. There's
Really
three games of it.
atmospheric.
It is. There's three games of it, and in fairness, the three games are in this one. Whereas in Doom, that's just the latest iteration of the franchise.
2016 version, yeah. But it's very good.
Well, with that said, they're both board games of video games. So, do they capture? Are you getting the video game experience with this board game? So, like with Doom, do you think is it Doom in a box?
Yeah, the gameplay in the board game Doom is very fast-paced, which is like the video game. You basically running around, picking up. You're very fast. You have a lot of movement, which is very similar. You're running around, picking up weapons, shooting things in the face, picking up chainsaws, and ripping demons apart instantly. It's very good. I think it suits the team very well.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
Well, like there is an insane amount of death in Doom. I mean,
Yeah.
you literally heal yourself by killing bad guys.
Yeah, it's really incentivized to run in, defeat them in melee.
It is. It's a very fun game, and it is very fast paced, and it does exactly what it says in the tin. It's just you're literally tearing strips off things,
Which fits the video game.
Dark Souls is very much like the video game as well, because it has the oppressive atmosphere and the tension and the fact that you die an awful lot in a box.
It's very punishing.
It is. It's a very difficult
It's a
game.
very, very difficult, punishing
Like
board game.
If you were going for a bit of fun, Doom is very easy. You just slot straight in there,
Yeah.
blow things up. In Dark Souls, there's a fair bit of strategy to it, and that's like the actual computer game as well.
Yeah, you have to be very tactical with your movements. And it's
It,
about positioning, and which is very similar to the video game.
it is. It's a hard game, but yeah. In fairness, now when it comes to the first point we were asking, do they capture the actual spirit of the video games? I think they do.
Yeah.
Very well.
The one thing though in Dark Souls is that a lot of Dark Souls is about exploration. You don't know what's coming next, and the environments that you're exploring and how they're interconnecting. And in this, all you have is 4 boards.
Well, no, you have 4 to 6 boards.
Yeah.
But you are right. It's like the computer game goes into places like, say, snow caps. It goes into kind of hell, things like this.
medieval-
But you're stuck here in a kind of a castle vibe. So yeah, you are right there.
It's the one environment.
Yeah.
Whereas in the video game, many different environments to explore and interact and find
True.
out how they interact with each other.
So the next question we should look at is basically fundamental differences between the board game and the computer game. Now, Dark Souls, the board game, is a game for 1 to 4 players. You can play this game solo, and it's still you against the game. However, you can go in as a team. Now, I know in the computer game, people could come in and join you and fight, but with this, everyone comes in at the same time, and the game is based around you leveling up as a team.
Yeah.
Doom
is 2 to 5 players, so you won't be able to play it solo. So you won't get a solo experience out of it. But you can have 1 Marine versus 1 Invader which is a player who controls all the demons in the game, which is an interesting part of it.
It is, because in the Doom franchise, I've never played as an actual demon
Before.
So
yeah, no.
it's cool as the Invader player that you're the one unleashing all
Yeah.
the minions of hell out of the
You
players.
get to be the Caco demons, the imps throwing all the fireballs. Feels cool.
It is. It's actually great fun. I mean, we've both played the Invader player, and it's
Great feeling, yeah.
it's a nice difference. But that is one big difference, and I think advantage of the board games over the computer games is the multiplayer aspect from the start, and certainly in a campaign setting. Like there's obviously multiplayer in Doom, but not multiplayer in the campaign aspect.
I guess, yeah.
Whereas in Dark Souls, there is multiplayer in the campaign, but not quite as frequent. So that is one advantage the board games have over the other computer games.
Yeah, multiplayer is obviously a great feature to have in the board game.
And another question I want to ask is the variety. Mm-hmm. Is there a lot of variety in the Doom board game? Are you just fragging over and over and over?
Well, there's a lot of fragging in the game, obviously, but no, there are a lot of different objectives you can have in the game where you have to collect a certain number of items, and there's a lot of variety for the invader player where they can have different objectives to do. They can have a different set of enemies per game. They can set up their own deck of cards. They have their own. So there's a few cards here. This is an example of what the different players are. So this is an objective deck, an objective card for the players, and this one is asset extraction. So they need to collect progress tokens. That's one of them, and there's a huge variety of different enemies, and the invader player gets these kind of cards, which allows them to choose which enemies to spawn at any time, and there's a whole deck of these. So yeah, I would definitely say there's a good bit of, you can change up the game however you want, really.
There's
a bit of variety.
There's 12 maps in Doom, and even if you decide to just randomly draw cards, it changes the whole style of game.
Yeah.
Because like the Invader has 3 different types. There's Assault, there's Infestation, and there's Horde mode.
Right.
So
yes.
like Assault, you have a limited amount of portals. Infestation, the demons appear as you go through the map. And Horde is you just endless waves of the things.
Yeah, the wave-based thing. It's a cool way of changing up the play style of the Invader player, you know?
Absolutely.
And it changes how the players react as well.
Absolutely, it's fun. It's pure frag-based fun. And even the players, the Marine characters,
yeah,
they get different cards.
Loadouts. And
like one could be a sniper or a close combat specialist or a team leader, things like that. So there's a lot of changes in the game. And it's a good thing because Doom has no expansions.
Yeah, right. There's a lot in it with no expansions. Yeah, you're right.
But there's no expansions for the game. Whereas Dark Souls, there is quite a few expansions now, actually. There's a few of them coming out, and they all look very good. The variety of the game, there is good variety in a sense, because the weapons you get in this are phenomenal. There's loads of weapons, and you draw different weapons every time you play the game.
There's a really large deck of random items you can get, equipment, armor, and weapons, yeah.
And like one of my favorite things in the game is kind of saving up to be able to use that weapon. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you come across a really powerful two-handed sword that'd be perfect for the knight or the warrior, it would completely change the style of the game and the team style of the game. So, I mean, depending on the card draw, depending what items you loot, the game does change, and it does show variety in that aspect. But it is also a grind. So
yeah, there's a lot of grinding.
The other thing is that the computer game is set in snowy places and hell, things like this. The board tiles here are all castle. They're all grey. So
the environments are very similar, yeah. Unfortunately, there's not a lot to change in it.
When it comes in variety, I think Doom edges out a little bit better. But Dark Souls has more cool items, if you know what I mean, in terms of the armor and equipment. But that would be the RPG
and
element.
Spells you get, yeah.
So the next question is pace of the game. Dark Souls is down as 90 to 120 minutes, and Doom is what?
Doom is saying 2 to 3 hours on the back of the box.
And you know what the funny thing is? I would actually swap the times on that.
Yeah. I don't think you would definitely easily play Doom a session of Doom in under 3 hours. I think, yeah.
I mean, it's
for sure.
There's no analysis paralysis with Doom. It's you're just going in and you're shooting things.
Because you have a hand of 3 cards, which are your weapons. I'll show you a weapon there, and you basically have a hand of 3 of them, which is plasma rifle, rapid fire. It says how far you can move, how much damage you deal, and what dice you roll, and any other things. And it's so fast. You shoot somebody, you deal the damage. It's very fast paced.
It is. It's all dice chucking kind of mechanics. Like there's small modifiers, but nothing major.
Very small, yeah.
Dark Souls is, by contrast, slow. Not slow in a bad way, but slow in an intense way. Because in this game, if one player dies, you start again. So the weakest link, everyone's invested in each other. So, I mean, there's no point in my character being a super tank if Tony is underdeveloped.
Kill one hit.
If you get squashed, we start again. Yeah. So there's a great kind of tension for that, where as a team, you're kind of constantly looking out for each other. But that slows down the gameplay because you end up discussing the next move. Now, it's great if that's what you're into and if you're in the mood for that, which, you can be now and again.
Yeah.
It's a very deeply strategy-based game, but because you get caught in strategy and thought, it slows down. Now, we've played it a few times, and I've never had a game that's lasted less than 2 hours. Ever.
Yeah, it's quite a slow-paced game. Yeah, you have to be very careful with every move you make in the game.
Absolutely, and whilst that's brilliant in one sense, it's not a fast-paced game. Whereas Doom is just fun.
It just feels faster anyway, with how fast you can move and how fast the dice rolling is. Yeah, it's just.
And the punishment for death is minimal. I mean,
with the respawn mechanic, if a player dies, they just get straight back into the action because they just respawn.
And there's teleporters dotted throughout the map as well. So if you activate it, you not only do you respawn, but you respawn closer to the fight again. So it's literally great in that sense. That you just constant frag fest involvement. Whereas Dark Souls is slow, meticulous planning, and it's cool once you level up, but you have to survive long enough to level up.
Yeah, you really earn the feeling of power in Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Whereas it's just given to you straight up in Doom, which is change, which can be it's up to your taste really.
But yeah, I think you've summed it up quite nicely there.
Cool.
Whereas this it's a grind because you can voluntarily reset the dungeon. Like you could explore 4 to 5 tiles, collect all the souls, and then say, okay, we'll start again because we came across a couple of really interesting items, weapons that we need to level up our characters to use effectively.
Yeah, there's leveling up. There's RPG elements in this, whereas there's none in Dark Souls, which there's none in Doom at all. So you can level up. You can level up your stats in Dark Souls. You can use your souls to buy new weapons in the shop.
Yeah.
And then you have to match your stats to get the proper weapons. So there's leveling up, and it kind of gives you a bit of sense of progression in Dark Souls, where there's none of that in the Doom game. No,
the only way you level up in Doom really is by picking up an interesting weapon. Like say
you pick up a weapon and you get the cards of that weapon, or glory kills and
the glory kills aspect and the chainsaw. I mean, the players in Doom it's like
very powerful.
It's like cheat mode, with all the weapons and all, and God mode, because you're mowing down demons. As an invader player, when I was playing against Marines, my lower level enemies, imps, only helped them, to be honest with you.
Yeah, the imps seem very weak altogether. You can just run into them and kill them instantly.
And if you glory kill an imp, the Doom Marine player gets 2 of their health points back.
Yeah. So you have to be very, very good with your positioning as an invader player. It's very difficult, actually.
But it's cool as well, because what I tended to do was I just saved up for the boss or the big monsters. Like when I was playing Barons of Hell against you, I mean, it was fun getting the guy to chase you down and squish, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, the big monsters coming out is a big difference, alright, yeah.
I mean, it's even really your Revenants now, you played the Revenants brilliantly because it's,
I just picked on Sean the whole game, really.
That's it.
2 versus 1, just shooting 4 rockets into him every time.
Well, you see, that's the fun of it. I mean, as an invader player, it's nice if you win, but you're more like a GM, and because you're up against another human being, you can have the bit of fun.
It's just about the fun, really, part of the game. Yeah, you can have fun losing anyway, even.
Exactly.
Whereas in Dark Souls, if you're losing, that's basically it, though. That's the end of it.
It's very punishing, because if you make a mistake in Dark Souls, it doesn't forgive.
It's unforgiving, yeah. And but that creates a lot of tension in the game as well. You're scared of dying in the game.
Well, that's it. Like, I mean, because you're very weak as well, and the souls, which would be the currency in the game, are communal. You have to invest in yourselves as a team, and if the team is very weak, okay, everyone's going to get squashed. But if the team gets stronger, we might invest everything in Tony, and he becomes the tank and the most powerful player, because that's just what the items we've gotten suits his character.
Yeah, the items that you get are pretty random as well. So what you get is what you get.
But I mean, I've played as a player where nothing has come up for me, so I haven't bothered leveling up because everything is kind of to Tony's character.
It's all about getting the equipment, really.
And if you don't get the right equipment, you're a spare wheel, and if anything, you're a hindrance because you're the easiest person to kill.
And you might get targeted and taken out, and that's the end of the playthrough. So
well, that's it, and it's great in kind of a team tension that way because every single member is important. but I found that I didn't enjoy it that much when I was the weakest link in the chain, if you know what I mean. And now you're targeted. The AI in Dark Souls is fair, if you know what I mean. Like that.
Yeah, you can tell what they're going to be doing. There's a little cards describing their movements, and it'll say this guy will target the closest player or the most active player.
So it's not like you're going to be bullied as the weakest player, but in Doom, oh yeah, you will get bullied.
You will get targeted because the monsters are by a player, and
well, I mean, like even if I'm going to lose the game, but I get to blow up Tony, I'll actually choose to blow up Tony. It's just fun that way.
Yeah, I actually felt bad by picking on some people, but they were right there. They were running in. You have to do something about it.
Oh, well, that's it. Like you know, but it is. There's more of a fragfest fun with Doom, and there is a kind of a constant.
It's very puzzly. You're trying to figure out the exact efficient way of killing the enemies more because to save your bacon rather than just trying it for the sake of which is fun, which is with Doom. So if Dark Souls is more about puzzling out the right way to defeat the room.
Yeah.
Every room is like a very hard puzzle.
Yeah.
Whereas in Doom, you're just rolling dice and hoping.
Well, that's it. It's a dice chucker game. Like, there's dice chucking in this, but there is strategy. I mean, especially with the bosses,
Very much so. The bosses are a major part of it, where they even have...
Like, you have to learn the pattern. So, I mean, I'm just going to show
let's take a look at the models.
The models are superb and they stand very much out. But as you can see here, there is a kind of a 4 crossroads X across the model. So it shows that the player can face the front of the monster, the rear of the monster, the right and the left. So if you just happen to, if the card comes up and for that particular move, the monster's right side is its weak side, you get a kind of a modifier, a positive modifier to your dice rolls to hurt it. Whereas So positioning and learning the monster's pattern is
very important, because they have weak points and weak sides, which is similar to the board game or the video game even.
And they also have kind of like if the front arc of this monster gets stronger, it's basically anyone caught in that front arc could easily get squashed. And all it takes is for one player to be squashed, and you start again. So
it almost turns into a bit of a ring around the rosy where the guy who's about to get targeted has to run away as soon as possible.
Yeah.
To run away from the boss, and then the Hank comes in from the side and hits his weak point. But
that's it. I mean, if you have a long empty night and you've got 3 other Dark Souls fans with you and you don't mind kind of dedicating your night to it, this is a fun experience.
It's nice. It's almost like an MMO boss fight.
Yeah.
Where you're a raid, you're raiding a boss. It feels like that, where they have a pattern, and because they have each boss has a specific deck of cards of what they're going to be doing, and it's fixed, so you know exactly which pattern is going to come up.
Yeah.
And it feels like an MMO raid boss fight in that regard, actually, which is very cool.
It is. Yeah, actually, that's a very good way of putting it. But that'll be the difference between the bosses here and the bosses there, but that's just kind of a pure fragfest.
Well, if the gateway to hell opened in my basement, we'll see. I think I would have to go with Doom in this case, because I'm usually looking for a kind of a lighter, fun game, and Doom just provides that, where Dark Souls is kind of a methodical pace, slower, a lot of tactics in the game, but Doom in this case would be the one I would choose.
Yeah, well, one of my biggest fears is if I went to try and rescue Dark Souls, the top of the box would be burnt off and I'd see this. Just kind of look up and there's flames all around me. But kidding aside, I'll probably go and grab Doom as well, because it's a bit more fun.
Yeah, it's actually a great introductory game to the dungeon crawling genre, you could say.
It's easier and it's more accessible to everyone. However, it doesn't have the same depth as Dark Souls, if you know what I mean. This is a much more strategic, heavily invested game, and that has its merits as well, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's a more thoughtful game, Dark Souls.
I mean, I'd grab Doom, but I'd miss Dark Souls, if you know what I mean. It's it depends on the humor you're in as well, because even if when it comes to playing the computer game, if I feel like kind of a bit of strategy, I'll throw on Dark Souls. If I feel like a bit of fun, I'll throw on Doom.
Exactly.
And it's the same type of thing. I think the problem is this is just a tad too cumbersome to be played very often.
True.
Whereas Doom, you can just
you'll get more plays out of Doom if you had the choice. Yeah, I think.
And also the appeal. This is a game you get non-board gamer players to play easily enough because everyone knows Doom. Whereas Dark Souls is people will be put off by the rules, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. And Doom is only going to get more popular anyway with the release of Doom Eternal.
I
Yeah.
cannot wait for that game.
Yeah, it's great. It should be good. Looking forward.